Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you for your invitation, but above all, for this so important topic that you wanted to bring forward. This is a topic that in this time has been undervalued and neglected, and also in the framework of the pandemic, one has forgotten that the population within the European Union is plural, so the attention has to be put to, on every category and every person that inhabits the European territory. I will try to give you some impulses regarding the topic of integration, starting from the document that I have sent to you. So through this pattern, and I will talk about the definition of integration, because sometimes we think that integration starts when a person arrives in a country, but instead it starts much longer before. So some studies have showed that if integration starts before one comes to the territory of integration, this integration is facilitated. I want to define that because for you to understand what is the role of volunteering, and in each of these steps, volunteering it has a very special role, and does what the institutions are not able to do. So I start with a definition of the migratory project, starting from the forced migration and integration. People that leave their country of origin due to dramatic events like wars, persecution, or natural catastrophes for asylum. And there are many new tools that allow the people to start this integration path during their journey, and also in the transit countries. You all know these tools. We talk about humanitarian corridors. In 2016, I have promoted a resolution in the European Parliament that was asking to European Commission and the Parliament to put those to create those preferential corridors, people that are going away from their countries. In order to start this journey on a humanitarian corridor, people are prepared and are channeled, and they are introduced the country they are going to. And humanitarian corridors do not start from countries of peril, but they start from the transit countries to the destination countries, and the institutions play a very important role. Until now, you can see how they are a link between the institutions and the people and migrants. In the, for example, in forced migrations, the same goes for relocations. You maybe recall that 2015, 2017, but also this year, we have islands like Lampedusa or other islands at the border with Europe. One tries to relocate those people to other European countries, and the role of the volunteering association is very important, because on the one side, it has a role as a guardian of the human rights, and we have asked for that within the institutions and outside institutions, and we continue to ask for a third-party observer of the volunteering association that is there in order to guarantee the rights of the people, the migrants, because the violations of human rights are not just the ones that we see, but also the ones that we do not see. And in this case, they happen in hotspots, like those places are transition places. And this stage is toward the integration and resettlement, for example. They are, and this is the first point. Integration and migratory project, and forced migration. The second point regarding the migratory project, before the people get to the destination country, are voluntary migrations, like legal ways in order to plan their journey from the origin country through learning the language of the destination country and organizing for the workplace and accommodation. And this has been stated in the Global Compact for Migration document. This is a partnership, a global partnership of regular migration, so that the person, once the person gets into the destination country, can continue an integration process that is not starting in that moment, but has already allowed and given the tools to the person in order to be integrated in the destination society. You surely know about the Global Compact for Migration. It has been ratified by 164 countries at UN level in December 2018, and the contribution, not just from the United Nations, but also by the volunteering associations that were able to participate and give their contribution in this journey, has been huge. For example, the European Parliament contribution was huge. I represented the Parliament in Marrakesh, where we have put together and give to the United Nations the document that I have ratified, and it's called Global Compact for Migration. This, on all this journey, I ensure that civil society and volunteering have been very important. We have evidence that and stated that in all of the documents. This could show you what happened during the process before the lockdown, after the COVID, and during the pandemic. The next slide talks about integration and the destination country. You see how I am leading you step by step through the entire process, from the start, the origin country, to the end of the project. What does it mean, integration? This is one consideration of mine, that according to a journey that has been made in the government, at the European Parliament, but also a consideration according to my experience. And you will find a long list of meanings and nuances. We have three elements that are part of a process, and they are adequacy, interaction, and perfectioning, or improvement. So what does it mean to adaptation? Adaptation, you can consider this point as not just related to the migratory project and regarding only migrants, but this regards every human being that is in a completely new context, And in this context, you have to take measures. You have to try to see how to integrate yourself in that in the society. And this is an adaptation. This is a creative process of adaptation. Means to feel good in a new situation. To do that, a migrant needs tools and needs to understand where he or she is, and institutions can give guidelines, and society has a different role, and volunteering activities allow those people to understand where they are. And this is the next point: interaction. Interaction means a modality of integration, cooperation. Various institutions, various social parts, various experts with different competencies work together in order to solve a common problem, in order to give tools and to face a very complex topic that has to be understood and faced from many points of view, and not just from one point of view. So most of the times, you can make the mistake to transfer your point of view to the people that arrive. The people that arrive are not empty, but they have their baggage, and we need interaction. So various points of view have to be put together. So we have complex problems that we have to solve together with other people, and to do that we have to cooperate and interact. The last point is improvement or processing. This is I have worked at this point during my role as minister. So the acquisition of citizenship, so the person arrives and belongs to the country and feels this belonging through the process of integration. This is like completing a process, and the person becomes an integral part of that system. This should be the spirit of this reception and hospitality. So this is the aspect that will allow the community to be better. Sometimes when I talked about that, I was criticized because I said that the community would have become better. Not that the community was ugly or bad, but it becomes a plural community. And to do that, we have to know all of these steps. The last point that I would like to deal with regards the receipt of a foundation. We pass from integration to see how the various organizations can be classified that we find in the civil society. So, for example, charitative companies or organizations, or people that care about people that are in difficulty, by integrating all of the steps that I have mentioned. So charitative associations that care about people in difficulty, they are based on the help of the volunteers. They are structured organizations that are able to manage continuative efforts with a specialization, but also based on conventions. They can also profit from public financing. This is an important resource in order to meet those needs. And This shows how those organizations, voluntary organizations in civil society, can operate in the best way possible, and they need, therefore, an organization and financing. In order to have that, they need to be organized. So in order to protect the rights as with an advocacy activity, we need an impact on the public opinion. You see many movements, associations, migrants, non-migrants, but also mixed ones. They tend to make an intervention that is based on politics or trade unions based, but for people that are discriminated and are treated in an unjust way. We have seen a lot of movements that have consolidated. I can make an example of what has happened in the United States and what has happened in the European Union. After the death of George Floyd, we have so many movements that were born in order to care about the people that are subject to racism. We have many examples that I could mention, and these are organizations that are self-organized and they fulfill their needs. They are a real network, is a community network of associations, and they are promoted by the communities of migrants. Those four types of organizations require support. That is a very strong support. After the pandemic, the intention is to intervene and to help the people that at the moment are in difficulty and they were not able to interact with the local society because the lockdown has brought to isolation, confinement, and people were in more and more in difficulty. They need to be helped. They need financing in order to start back this process of integration that has been stopped regarding the steps that I have described. The other point that I wanted to describe is integration and institutions. So integration is something that is established by the Constitution. I have made a research that I could put at your disposal regarding the integration process in some European countries. I will send that study to the organizers so that they can share it. It is about the type of integration in some countries of the European Union. So this is a pillar for the European Union of the European Union politics, and this is an important appeal or call that is given in order to have a strategy that is unified and common among the various European Union member states. It is also, integration is also socialization. This is from a point of view of the organization of the process. Now I will try to put the question on the side of the institutions, on the side of rights, and of the municipalities, province, and regions that are the levels of implementation of those integration policies. Italy, an Italy that integrates is a better Italy and is united in the diversity. And this has to be part of every sector of our life. We can see that during the crisis over the last period, the economic crisis and the period that we have experience of attacks, the lockdown, they imply risks of discrimination, and their role is very important in this time. Therefore, integration has to be considered as a specific responsibility of the government and the politics. So we know that initial integration was based on the topics of inability, and has then widened to other topics like immigration, social policy, and I talk to you about the Italian journey. The protection of fragile people, because they do not have the all of the tools needed in order to interact with the society of destination. This is a search for solutions and for new values and the new common agreement of living together in the society. What can be the main tasks of the government? I believe that in the volunteering universe, to learn how to interact with the institutions is very important. It is important also to carry out the tasks within the society in the best way possible. So trying to cooperate to find a solution and promote cooperation and connection between public-private players to remove the difficulties of the coordination and in the activities of the public institutions. The service sector, where there are associations and organizations, this has to be the link between the institutions and the citizens, with a mediation between migrated population and institution of the target society. This is a tool for the participation of citizens of the migrants in the target country. Then the promotion of a full citizenship. What can be done besides everything I mentioned? You can carry out studies. Many of the centers, they carry out studies in order to improve the process of integration, like also collecting data. Without those data, it is really difficult to have integration journey. And we should also know the people that are on the territory, the category of people that are on the territory. And when we talk about a migratory process, this has been one of the topics that we have discussed a lot in the past. And most of the times this was directed to the male population, because the migration was considered as something that was referred to males. But we see today that the process of migration and asylum seekers, the situation is totally changed, and the participation of females, of women, is very high. We see 50-50 percentage of women. We have women that are alone. So migration is not just male, but we have to face also the fact that we have children and women, and we need answers, we need studies, we need collection of data, we need to raise the awareness and good practices. So best practice and good practice. If you look at the previous slide, I was talking about studies collection of data and campaigns for raising the awareness. And I put also the institutionalization of good practices. This is to show what is the meaning of those practices. This is an example that can be applied to any European country. The family funds for asylum seekers and migration, and they are structural funds that are given to the various governments. The various governments distribute them according to various modalities to the associations and the regions in order to improve the integration and in order to have an integration at country level. The Italian example, what did the Ministry for Interiors in Italy has tried to, through these funds, to, when I was a minister, I noticed that a part was reserved to good practices. So a good practice can be defined as an experience, an approach, an initiative with a good level of functioning that is able to show us what are the methods, the techniques that can produce concrete results. This is in the definition of the FAMI funds regarding the Italian level. You can find that among the various documents, and this shows us that the good practice can be applied and become institutionalized and become a system. I would say to go to the next slide, which shows us how we can make integration through the various aspects, family, rights, and solidarity. In each of those points, the role of volunteering is more and more important. Solidarity as a strength of the society, sustaining associations, associations for migrants, integration in association of natives, promoting solidarity structures with social centers that are open to everybody, and fiscal, so tax reduction for the associations, and then intergenerational solidarity. And then the time bank for migrants and natives. So I'm implementing processes of autonomization. So, for example, school compulsory for minors. The volunteering association can help the families after school. Many minors face difficulties in families that are not able to follow them in their school journey. People parents that work and that do not know about local culture. And we have a lot of points, open points in terms of civil society. So we have post-school activities at level of local level with social projects, with social activities for children. So this means that the places and spaces of dormants where the children can stay to make their schoolwork before the parents come back home. So this is to reinforce their school journey in order to avoid the children drop school. And society finds support in those projects and activities. So we have other activities like learning the Italian language. We have centers that are dedicated to the Italian language and past school training, continuous training for adults. Those are good practices that have been shared to follow and help integration. In all of the EU member states, you have reference points and institutions are funding those centers, give guidelines and help the associations and those services. These are local associations that help integration. So we have also occupational policies for women, and women are followed and helped. This is why collecting data is so important. This allows us to have precise answers for the population that we deal with. So those services are specific for women. We have support, territorial support also for migrants. And here, the volunteers are a link between the institutions and the society the people live in. We have accommodation policies. This is a crucial point. Accommodation policies sometimes one is convinced that people can steal the accommodations to the local people, but this is not true. It is very hard to imagine an integration without an accommodation. So it is a task of the institution to help integration through the right kind of accommodation. We have a system that is called SPRAR for the protection of asylum seekers. Today, for example, it has been renamed with CIPROIT and as an hospitality system for accommodation, for buying a home with essential services, nursery for children, protection for the family and against racism. You can see that everything is complete. So the migrant is protagonist of this entire process and policies. The migrant is becomes active and is making this journey side by side with institutions. From a cultural point of view, this is very important. Culturally, you can share journeys with associations on the territories, also through best practices. Before we go to the next slide, talking about right to citizenship, I was talking about completion, and I would like to mention 3 best practices. The first one is regards the citizenship. I didn't put a slide, but I think that citizenship is something that I have struggled a lot for, and is a well-known topic. The jus soli issue. Over the last period, many institutions and countries have put their attention on the asylum seekers, but I believe that integration path regards not just the asylum seekers. You saw that I have written forced migration and then voluntary migrations, that we have people that are born from parents in Italy, and they need a different perspective. So people that are born as citizens in Italy, otherwise we cannot train people and consider them as extraneous to the territory they were born in. So those children could lose their opportunity to improve the society they live in, and the society is losing that opportunity. So we need a wider overview on that. So as Ministry for Integration, I have carried out the concept of honorary citizenship, which is a symbol, and this involves the associations. I have involved many people, the institutions, starting to involve the schools also about the concept of citizenship, and the second point, as a good practice, I would like to submit to you, is a project that you can bring forward, is the bank of time. What does it mean? It is about sharing our time through and put our time to at disposal of the institutions and the society. We can do that with music, with gardening, and the role that you prefer. And this is a voluntary activity, so you use your time for the society. And in this path, we have migrants that can be helped in their integration process. One of the beautiful projects that I have appreciated a lot over the last years is the project Migrants, that started from the volunteering experience and puts together the background and the skills of many migrants. So this is done in relationship with the institutions, trying to integrate the people into the work sphere. There is also a European project that has been carried out in many countries, and this project is called Artem. You can find it on Artem access.eu. I've really appreciated that. It's a platform, a network to share time. Those are all best practices that can project us into a future where you see that everything that is brought forward with some methods and tools, with good tools, as I have mentioned, but through your research you can surely identify also others. This allows to know about the integration and what are the economic fundings that are available, collection of data, and understand who you are and how you can help. This in a collaboration with other institutions, and I'm sure that you have a lot of best practices, and I'm sure that you can use them in the best way. We have then the conclusion, the right to the full citizenship. So a society that is qualified as a civil society can have antibodies against the culture of waste. So we have had the global compact for migration that states that a state has to develop those antibodies if you acknowledge the value, the intangible value of human life, with hospitality, protection, promotion, and integration. Those are the four verbs that have to be used for a common answer to the phenomenon. In times of COVID, the role of volunteering activity should be also that I won't go into detail, but I believe that the elements that I gave to you today could be as serve as a stimulus in this pandemic. I have left aside many of the works that I was carrying out, and I'm now caring about care at home of patients, integration within a healthcare system. As I've worked as an intermediary between the hospitals and the patients for the vaccination and the volunteering. The role of volunteering in this field is really very important. So thank you for your attention, and I'm also open to your questions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for your great presentation, Ms. Kyenge. It was so productive. I would like to ask you that how can you interpret the narratives of far-right parties in Italy? I mean, how they discriminate migrants? Which narratives do they apply?
Actually, I have two questions. One slightly more of a comment, but actually kind of a question. So I noticed, I agree with you, the importance regarding the citizenship. I'm asking the question in English and then it's translated, correct? So I agree with you regarding the importance of providing citizenship. Totally agree with you, but I was just wondering whether if you put so much emphasis on citizenship, that doesn't mean that actually the process of integration actually is really happening. I mean, we know plenty of people with citizenship actually are discriminated regardless of their citizenship status. So I was wondering whether kind of we should keep on focusing on other aspect of the process of integration. Actually, I like a lot that use the word accoglienza. So actually, I was also wondering whether we should speak about policies of accoglienza. I don't know exactly could be the proper word in English, rather than speak about integration, which is always a problematic term. And then my second question is about you focus. You mentioned the need to turn migrants as not just people that let's say to whom we give service, but they should be activists. They should be active citizens. And then I notice in many countries there are all these policies to kind of induce migrants, especially refugees and asylum seekers, to volunteer, but it's not kind of no exactly free will volunteer. They are part of a package of measures they should take to kind of fulfill their process of welcoming in the country. So I was wondering what your take on this type of volunteering program for refugee asylum seekers, which again, they're not free will exactly. I mean, they are really, in some cases, there's kind of it's not a duty, but kind of that really people are really incentive or pushed to do volunteering.
Good morning. Io parlo in italiano, se che un po' comodo perché sono
I will talk in Italian as I'm from Italy. I am working with an association for migrants, and we have a problem with many women that when they come here with documents of their husband, especially during this pandemic, those documents of the husband, so with these documents they have problems. So the permission for stay is limited in this case, and they cause a lot of a lot of problems. So I've been working for 1 year for this association, and I have seen experienced a lot of problems for women, also topic issues related to stress and anxiety. So how can we help them for those aspects, and especially when documents are expired? Thank you.
La prima domanda.
The first question, as far as I understood, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. You wanted to know about the approach of the far right wing and the discrimination of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So the type of approach that is used is at various levels and various kind. First is if I look at the Italian situation, but I see also that in various countries in EU, the first word that discriminate people is to say before first Italians. So that means that in that moment you are also neglecting a great part of the population as in terms of access to services and to possibilities of integration, also to accommodation. As I said before, you cannot cut away a part of the population. You cannot say first the Italians because we have citizens and they have to be considered in their social status, and their social status is not necessarily linked to their origin, country of origin. We can have Italians, we can have strangers or foreigners that live in difficulty. So in itself, this is a strategy that is misleading many people. So the first thing that we should contest is this idea of first the Italians, first the natives, because it is the human being that is at the center. So clearly, to every question you need to have a different solution. But if we say first the Italians, this is not meaning that the Italians can have everything and the migrants have come later. So we have a propaganda on the internet, and everywhere you see symbols of people that are attacked by fake news. So we have a lot of fake news regarding the fact that they are paid and we are not paid. So our older people do not receive any money, and they receive 30 euros per day, while many other people do not receive money. So without going into detail, so they use fake news for this propaganda. And unfortunately, there are slogans that have a strong impact for people that are not aware of the situation. And this is what is happening. So we have fake news that are used as a tool also for propaganda for many people of the right wing. The third point that is rather sensible, and nobody is born with an ideology or a politic idea. So most of the time, I'm not saying that all of the migrants have to be of the left wing. We have people of every party, but most of the time, the dirty job is done by the migrants because it's more credible. Because we say that it's their fault. So also in the past, we have seen a lot of crimes and episodes of violation of human rights, where the fragile people, the people that were mistreated, they were used to do that because so the message is credible. I have given to you 3 examples of how to interpret this approach of discrimination. And then this slowly gets to the institutions. The second question regarding Andrea, the first question, because the second was about the protagonist migrants. The first question was about the concept of citizenship. You then lose sight of other aspects because people with citizenship can be discriminated anyway. So it was more like a comment. So it is not just a question of citizenship. Maybe this could be the last aspect because we have many other aspects. So I perfectly agree. I can give you my example. I'm an Italian citizen, European citizens, but when I get to the frontier with an Italian passport, I'm always a foreigner before they look at my passport. So it's not just having citizenship, it's a kind of culture. And we have other tools within the institutions that can be used. Integration is not ending there. Integration is a continuous path, day by day. It's like implementing our constitution every day of our life. So we have to implement it and enforce it every day. So, for example, the passport, the citizenship is not the final step. I agree with the comment. Also, with the citizenship, when I was representing in some member states and I was the chief of the delegation, I was never acknowledged as a European because they were looking at people next to me. I see that also in my work as a doctor. They ask for the doctor. Where is the doctor? And I am the doctor. And I so shift to the cultural parts because we need to take measures on the cultural side. Do you remember that in the 80s in Italy, we had some very serious TV series like Robinson, Jefferson? They have contributed to show how the US society was, and the Black American was not just the people that were segregated, but they existed. So through those TV series that arrived in Italy, so this helped with the cultural conception. Once I got to the hospital and they told me that I was Afro-American, but no, I was just African, I said. So we maybe needed some other tools on TV and other media in order that show that the culture and the society is made up of different culture, different races. So we have many tools available in order to improve this conception. The other question was about forced volunteering of migrants. I think that this is not true volunteering. Indeed, people are forced to do volunteering. Sometimes they are forced to do that in order to get a document. But volunteering has to be felt. So we have the example of the Bank of Time. This is something that helps migrants and natives. So people that feel that they want to share their time. In other occasions, there are activities that are not cannot be defined as volunteering. It is not true that if I'm a foreigner, I need to put my time at disposal of the society. So you can decide whether you want to do business or volunteering or politics. So we have a lot of job to be done. We need training for politics, for the society. And the third question was about the documents of women. We have worked a lot for that. I can send you a document about the autonomization of women. So women are often linked to the husband or are part of the family as never as protagonists, as subject that decide about the future, about their migratory journey as family head. But this is not yet understood by many people. I can send you a document, a resolution of the European Parliament, where we have asked for the autonomy of people. If an husband has lost the permit of stay, so in cases like that, you can also refer to centers against violence. We talk also about equality of gender. So this has to be stopped, the fact that the permit of stay is of the husband, because, for example, in case of divorce, those women lose their permit of stay, and this is blocking the integration of the woman and also of the children.
Grazie a voi e grazie a tutti.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Grazie mille.